Listen, breathe in. The air is warm, rich with dust and memory. You are standing at the edge of a world older than time. Before you lies a river broad, calm, endless. The Nile, the lifeblood of a land called Kemet, the Black Land. A ribbon of water that cuts through golden deserts, bringing with it life, rhythm, and the memory of gods. This is not just any river. It is the river, the source of birth, of harvest, of prayer, a mirror of the sky above and the soul below. Everything begins here. Close your eyes and imagine it, a land wrapped in silence, yet humming with life, reeds swaying in the breeze, date palms casting long, dappled shadows, herons rising in slow arcs above the river's edge, children's laughter carried on warm wind, a mother's song rising with the smoke of a clay hearth, the soft crunch of sandals on earth baked by 10,000 suns. This is not a land of kings or conquests, not a land of golden tombs or towering statues, at least, not tonight. This is a land of villages, of clay homes and woven baskets, of hands in the soil and voices in the dusk, of shared bread and whispered prayers, of lives lived close to the river and closer still to the stars. The people who lived here over 3,000 years ago would not have called their lives extraordinary. They rose with the sun. They listened to the land. They honored the seasons. And they moved gently through time. But to us now, from so far away, their days feel like dreams, a breath, a stillness, a rhythm we've forgotten, but long to remember. Because in this ancient rhythm, there is peace. And in peace, there is something sacred. The Egyptians saw time not as a straight line, but as a circle. Every day was a repetition of the first day. Every sunrise, a rebirth of the sun god Ra. Every flood, a retelling of the god's generosity. Every act of labor, a ritual. Every act of rest, a return to the womb of the earth. To live rightly was not to seek greatness, but to maintain balance, the divine order that held the world together. So even the smallest moments held meaning, sweeping dust from a threshold, offering a bowl of water to a shrine, tying a child's amulet before sleep, singing a harvest song beside an open field. These were not chores. They were songs in the great symphony of life. You are about to journey through one day in one village, a single sunrise to sunset, dusk to dream, but that day is every day in the ancient rhythm of Egypt. You will hear the morning doves stir the dawn. You will walk dusty paths beside barefoot children. You will share a meal beneath shade trees. You will stand in fields of barley, feeling the earth's pulse. You will watch the stars rise as lamps are lit, and you will rest with the river beneath the gaze of ancient gods. You do not need to understand every word. You do not need to remember every name. You are not here to study. You are here to feel. Let the images drift over you. Let the cadence of this world lull you. There is no hurry here, no pressure, only breath. Like the Nile, you are meant to flow. So rest now, close your eyes or keep them soft. Let the weight of the modern world slip away, gently. Let the sounds of long ago wash over you. Because somewhere in this imagined day, in this dream of dust and water, you may just find a part of yourself you didn't know was waiting. Welcome to the Nile. Welcome to the village. Welcome to the rhythm. It is morning once again. Let the day begin. Let your eyes close gently. Take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, drift backwards, far backwards, thousands of years through the mist of time, to a quiet bend in the Nile River, long before cities rose or pharaohs built their tombs in stone. The stars are still visible overhead, shimmering points of light, reflected gently in the dark surface of the Nile. The desert's dry breath sweeps across the sand dunes, cooling the earth after the long heat of the previous day. In the darkness, everything is still. The only sounds are soft and rhythmic. The distant lapping of river water, the occasional hoot of a desert owl, the creak of reeds swaying in the breeze. It is the hour before sunrise, and the village nestled just beyond the fertile banks of the river is asleep. This village, unnamed by history, is one of countless similar hamlets that once dotted the Nile's course. Built from the earth itself, its homes are shaped from sun-baked mud brick, blending into the land with soft, rounded walls the color of sand and ochre. You are here, among them, as an unseen presence, a gentle spirit, drifting slowly through the quiet lanes and sleeping rooftops. Listen, watch, and feel. Each home is modest, yet full of life, of generations, of memory, of ritual. Inside, a family rests on low woven mats laid over packed clay floors. Papyrus mats serve as doors. Niches in the walls hold little lamps fashioned from clay, now extinguished for the night. Clay pots are stacked neatly in corners. The scent of dried herbs and stored grain lingers faintly in the air. In one home, a mother stirs briefly in her sleep. She adjusts the linen cloth over her youngest child, murmuring a wordless tune, a memory of a song passed down from her own mother. Then she sleeps again. Outside, a soft wind ripples through palm fronds, their long fingers whispering a lullaby for the land. Walk now gently toward the river. The Nile flows like liquid obsidian under the stars, slow, ancient, unchanging. Its currents are the heartbeat of the land, carrying life from the highlands to the delta, just as it has for thousands of years. Along its edges, the narrow strip of Greenland glows faintly in the starlight dense with crops, palms, and reeds. Beyond this verdant edge, the desert stretches endlessly, dry and eternal. A fisherman's small skiff is tied to a post by the riverbank. Made from bundles of papyrus reeds or perhaps a carved plank of acacia wood, the boat rocks gently with the current. Beside it lies a net, carefully mended the day before, and now resting under a woven basket. The fisherman sleeps nearby in his house, his dreams full of the river's voice. In another part of the bank, a small shrine stands simple and old. A clay offering bowl sits beneath a carved figure of Hapi, the god of the Nile's bounty. Inside the bowl are offerings left the night before, a handful of dates, a sprinkling of barley, a cup of water poured with reverence. These rituals are not grand, but deeply meaningful. Every family in the village depends on the river. Every heart honors its gift. Somewhere upstream, the sound of a hippopotamus splashing carries faintly across the water. In ancient times, hippos were respected and feared. They could crush boats, startle cattle, and sometimes attack fields, yet they were also sacred. One goddess, Twilight, took the form of a pregnant hippo. She guarded childbirth and protected homes from evil. Even danger was sacred in this land. Drift onward. Beyond the village and past the river's edge lie the fields. In this season, they are rich with life. You glide over rows of emmer wheat and barley, each stalk bowed under the weight of dew. These grains, ancient and wild, were domesticated millennia ago and they are the backbone of life in the Nile Valley. Ground into flour, brewed into beer, or cooked into nourishing porridge, these crops feed the body and soul. The field is divided into long, narrow plots, each lined with raised mud banks to hold the water in. These are basin fields flooded and irrigated by the Nile's yearly inundation. The floodwaters receded weeks ago, leaving behind a thick blanket of fertile silt. It is this rich black earth kemet, the black land that allows Egypt to thrive amidst the harsh golden sands of the desert, known as Deshret, the Red Land. Canals snake between plots, controlled by small dikes and wooden sluices. A simple, elegant system passed down by memory, not books. The farmers here rise before dawn each day to tend the land, working together with neighbors, sharing tools, songs, and labor. Tonight, the fields sleep, but life stirs just beneath the surface. Tiny frogs nestle in muddy pools. Crickets trill softly from hidden places. The scent of wet earth is thick, cool, and comforting. Now, drift back toward the village. Pass through a goat pen, where small animals shift occasionally in the straw. A donkey snorts once, then falls silent. Chickens roost in a wicker coop nearby, their soft clucks muffled by the layers of thatch and woven reeds. The villagers keep many such animals, not just for food, but for work, for milk, for eggs, for companionship. Their sounds are as much a part of the village's rhythm as the wind or river. In one house, a woman begins to stir. Her name, long forgotten to history, still echoes softly in the morning air. She stretches quietly so as not to wake the others. She reaches for the small ceramic jar beside her mat inside, a mix of scented oil and resin, used to soften the skin and mask the sweat of the day to come. She rubs a drop onto her wrists and neck, the fragrance of myrrh and lotus filling the space like a prayer. Her home is simple, but lovingly arranged. A family altar sits in one corner, small clay statues of protective deities, Bes, Tauret, Isis. A few amulets rest on a woven mat nearby, along with offerings of dried bread and cool water. She kneels briefly before the shrine, hands pressed together. No words are spoken, only the silence of devotion. In this world, the sacred lives not just in temples or palaces, but in every home, every breath. The day is near, and the village begins to stir. The horizon begins to glow faint at first, like the memory of fire. The stars slowly fade. The sky above the eastern desert softens to hues of pink, lavender, and gold. A heron calls once, then takes flight, gliding above the river like a spirit of the air. Children, small and barefoot, begin to rise in their homes. Still drowsy, they rub their eyes and stretch in the arms of parents or older siblings. A small boy chases a chicken outside, laughing softly before being hushed by his mother. The first fire is lit a small clay hearth fueled by dried dung and palm fronds. The smoke curls upward into the awakening sky. Grain is measured into a mortar, and a woman begins to grind it with a rhythmic, meditative motion. Back and forth, stone against stone. The sound echoes through the quiet like a heartbeat. This act so simple, so ancient, is performed countless times each day across Egypt. The sound of grinding grain was called the song of the home. It meant life, nourishment, continuity, elsewhere. An elder tends the rooftop garden small clay jars, filled with soil and herbs. Mint, coriander, fennel, these are not luxuries. They are remedies, flavors, guardians of health. He waters them with care, whispering thanks to the spirits of the earth. A pot of beer is stirred in preparation for fermentation. It is thick, nutritious, and slightly sour made from leftover bread and flavored with dates. Nearby, a jar of honey is unsealed, sticky, golden, precious. A gift from bees, who are called the tears of the sun god Ra. The village has awoken. As the sun crests the horizon, golden light floods the land. The Nile sparkles. The rooftops glow. The desert blazes with heat and color. Palm trees stretch their arms skyward, and birds rise in flocks, calling out the name of the new day. The children help gather water from the well. Young boys run messages between homes. Girls collect greens from the garden plots, tying them into neat bundles. Laughter begins to ripple through the alleys. The quiet of night is gone, replaced by the gentle hum of a living village. But you remain in this space just before the bustle truly begins. A sacred pause, a liminal moment. This is not just morning. This is creation, renewed again. Each sunrise is a reawakening of the world, a daily echo of the first dawn when the gods brought light from chaos. The villagers may not speak these myths aloud each day, but they live them, breathe them, carry them in every act of labor, love, and faith. This is the hour when all is still possible. The first light of Ra now pours over the eastern horizon, bathing the land in a golden, warming glow. The Nile, ancient and unbroken, reflects the sun like a mirror drawn through the landscape, a ribbon of molten gold weaving between fields and homes. Morning has truly arrived. The light spreads softly across the rooftops of the village, where some early risers are already outside. From above, the village is a tapestry of tan mud brick rectangles, low stone walls, woven fences, and rooftop terraces shaded with reed mats. Palm trees sway gently in the morning breeze, their silhouettes casting elongated shadows over the awakening earth. You are still a drifting spirit here, unseen and weightless. Let your breath slow. Let the scene unfold in its own timeless rhythm. In one courtyard, a man pours water over his hands and face, washing the sleep from his skin. His movements are slow, deliberate. He dips a ceramic jug into a larger basin. Careful not to spill water is sacred here. Every drop is a blessing from the river, a breath from the god Hapi. As he washes, he hums softly, not a song with words, but a gentle patter of tones passed from father to son. Nearby, his wife prepares the morning fire. She crouches beside a small clay oven, lighting dried palm fronds beneath the cooking stones. The smoke rises steadily, merging with the pale morning mist. Soon, the scent of flatbread cooking over the fire joins the breeze. Warm, slightly charred, and earthy, it fills the village like incense from a temple. Her daughter joins her, cradling a small basket of lentils and leeks. Together, they work in quiet cooperation, their hands moving with the ease of habit and memory. There is no rush, no urgency. The day is long, and it begins slowly. Across the village, similar scenes unfold. Quiet mornings shared between families. The murmur of voices. The clinking of pottery. The rustle of woven garments made from linen, freshly laundered and left to dry overnight in the cool desert air. In some homes, prayers are whispered before household altars. A small figure of Isis, carved from wood and painted with care, receives a dab of oil. Bread is offered in a bowl beside a burning piece of myrrh. Smoke curls upward like a bridge between worlds. For the ancient Egyptians, the divine was not distant. The gods lived in the corners of the home. in the breeze, in the fire, in the bread, and in the river. The village children are now fully awake. Small, barefoot, and laughing, they move between homes with the freedom of innocence. Some help their parents with morning chores, feeding chickens, sweeping the courtyard, or helping to fetch water. Others play beneath the date palms, their voices light and untroubled. A group of older boys walks toward the fields, carrying tools slung over their shoulders. Wooden hoes, woven baskets, and walking sticks. Their fathers walk ahead of them, and they follow in a silent ritual of imitation. One boy hums a song he learned from the elders, a melody used to set the rhythm of fieldwork. It is old, perhaps older than any name in this village. Two young girls carry baskets of herbs, mint, dill, fenugreek, from the rooftop garden down into the kitchen area. They sprinkle the leaves into a shallow stone bowl and begin grinding with a smooth stone pestle, the scent rising into the warm air. No child is idle here. From the earliest age, every task is part of life's great rhythm. There are no rigid hours, no clocks ticking. Time is measured by the sun's journey across the sky, by the cycles of planting and harvest, by the floods and receding waters of the Nile. Life flows like the river. By mid-morning, the village has come fully alive. The soft clinking of pottery being scrubbed in the river, the chatter of women washing clothes at the water's edge, and the rhythmic splash of wooden poles dipping into the Nile, the sounds blend into a tranquil symphony. Follow the women down the slope to the riverbank. Their feet press into the wet mud, leaving temporary prints as they carry baskets of linens and amphorae for filling. The water is calm and mirror-like, dappled with morning light. A woman stands waist-deep, her dark linen shift clinging to her frame. She scrubs a garment against a smooth stone, humming softly to keep the rhythm. Another woman pours water from a tall jar over her own shoulders, rinsing away dust and sleep, refreshed by the sacred current. Children splash nearby, watched carefully by their elders. Their laughter skips like stones over water. The river holds them all, mothers, fathers, children, cattle, reeds, fish, birds. It is the great lifeline, eternal and all-giving. On the far side of the water, farmers tend to cattle and check irrigation dikes. A silt-covered ox trudges slowly through the mud, guided by a soft voice and a gentle stick. The animal is not a tool, but a partner. They depend on each other. High above, an ibis circles, then lands at the edge of the papyrus reeds, a symbol of Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. Its long beak dips once into the water, then it moves silently away. Back in the heart of the village, the craftspeople begin their day. In one home, a potter kneels by his wheel, a flat stone turned by hand and foot. He slaps a wet mound of clay onto the center and begins to shape it with fingers both firm and gentle. Slowly, a vessel begins to emerge, smooth, round, purposeful. It will be fired in a pit oven later, baked hard by flame and time. He whistles softly as he works. Next door, a weaver stretches fibers across a wooden frame, carefully spinning flax into thread. Her fingers are quick and practiced, dancing from peg to peg. The linen she produces will clothe her family, and perhaps be traded at the next market day. A single tunic can take weeks to weave, but she works with patience and pride. Another man hammers copper rivets into a wooden sickle. His tools are simple, his bench a rough plank, but the metal shines in the sun, and the wood is smooth from hours of carving. The sickle will be used in harvest, the blade sharp enough to cut through fields of grain like water. Even the children craft. Small clay dolls, reed boats, or carved pieces of bone and wood. These toys echo the adult world, preparing them for the years ahead. Nothing here is wasted. Nothing is idle. Yet the work feels unhurried. Each task flows into the next. The village breathes in labor and breathes out life. Though each family has its own home, the village functions as one body. Neighbors visit one another often, sharing stories, advice, and surplus food. A woman offers a handful of fresh dates to the elder down the lane. A man lends his son to help repair a neighbor's wall. Under a shaded awning, several elders gather on woven mats to talk. Their voices are low, rich with memory. They speak of seasons past, of good floods and lean ones, of omens in the stars and lessons from ancestors. One elder, eyes clouded by time, tells a story of the time the Nile rose too high and a crocodile was seen in the village square. The children who listen do so with wide eyes and slow breath. These stories are not entertainment. They are the memory of the land, kept alive by spoken word. In a quiet corner, a healer prepares a remedy. She mixes powdered myrrh with honey and garlic, grinding the paste into a small stone bowl. A child nearby has a cough, and the mixture will soothe the chest and protect the spirit. Her jars are labeled not with writing, but with small marks and symbols. A star for sleep, a fish for digestion, a bird for protection. She hums as she works. Her hands, like the potters and the farmers, move with the grace of generations. The morning stretches on, the sun now higher in the sky. The shadows shrink. The breeze fades. The warmth begins to deepen into heat. A bell made of copper chimes gently in the wind, perhaps from a goat's collar or a wing catcher near a home. The air is filled with light, the Nile now glowing blue rather than gold. The desert hills in the distance shimmer with heat, their outlines softened as if painted in watercolor. In the distance, a temple stands on the edge of the desert. Though small and far from the royal cities, it is sacred to this village. There, a priest prepares offerings for the god Min, or perhaps Horus. He pours milk into a stone basin, lights incense of frankincense and blue lotus. Few villagers will go there today, but they will bow slightly as they pass it, acknowledging its presence like the sun or the river. The rhythms of the morning draw slowly to a close. Soon will come midday rest when the sun is at its peak and the work pauses. Families will gather under the shade of trees or thatched roofs, sharing their midday meal, sleeping briefly, whispering stories, or simply listening to the silence. But for now, the village is in full bloom. The Nile has given its gift once again, and the people have risen to meet it. The sun now stands directly overhead Ra at his zenith, sailing across the sky in his golden bark. The world beneath him glows with a radiant, almost weightless stillness. The Nile sparkles as if dusted with gold flakes. Shadows are short, and even the birds grow quiet beneath the burning midday light. The village, too, quiets. It is the sacred pause in the rhythm of life, a time for rest, for food, for reflection. Work slows. Voices soften. The land itself seems to hold its breath. And in this space, this silent warmth, the heart of the village reveals itself. In homes throughout the village, families gather under shade beneath woven reed roofs or cool verandas lined with palm fronds. Some sit on the packed earth, others on low stools or mats made of date palm fiber. The air is warm, but shaded and fragrant with freshly baked bread, lentils, and herbs. A simple midday meal is shared. There is no extravagance, just nourishment and togetherness. A round of ta bread is torn and passed. A clay bowl holds cooked lentils, seasoned with cumin and coriander. A handful of dried figs and dates are placed on a leaf-covered plate. A pot of beer, thick and slightly sour, is poured into small ceramic cups. There is also water cool from the well, stored in porous jugs that sweat gently in the heat to keep it fresh. In one household, a young boy dips his bread into a paste of garlic and crushed lupine beans. He grins at his sister, who rolls her eyes at his messy fingers. Their father breaks a date in half and offers it to a visiting elder, whose feet are calloused from decades of working the fields. No one eats alone if it can be helped. The meal is not simply food, it is participation in the sacred cycle of giving and receiving. It is the reaffirmation of bonds. The Egyptians believed that to eat together was to share in Midday the harmony and balance that governed all things. Even the simplest meal becomes an act of spiritual alignment. Above them, the breeze stirs gently. A linen cloth flutters on the line. A bee hovers near a jar of honey. The world is full and still. As the heat of the sun deepens, many villagers retreat to their rooftops flat and open to the sky, shaded by woven mats, propped up on poles. Up here, there is breeze. Up here, the hum of the village becomes distant and musical. A woman reclines on a mat with her infant, rocking the child gently while whispering a lullaby. She dips her fingers into cool water and traces the baby's brow. The child blinks slowly, sleepy beneath the rhythmic chant. Perhaps the song is older than her own grandmother. Nearby, a group of cousins lie stretched out on their backs, staring up at the linen awning and the flicker of light between the reeds. One of them hums. Another dozes. The eldest draws shapes in the dust beside her with a piece of charcoal. A pot of herbs hangs above a tiny brazier. The scent of dried mint and chamomile fills the air. It is not for eating, but for calming a midday incense to soften the soul. Rooftops are places of retreat and connection. Here, women weave and talk. Men mend tools and share news. Grandparents sit with eyes half closed, offering bits of wisdom between silences. Cats sprawl in shaded corners. Chickens peck softly at the dust. From above, the village resembles a living organism, each rooftop a breath, each alley a pulse. The heart beats slowly at midday, but it beats steadily. While most of the village rests, a few feet continue to move quietly toward the small desert-edge temple, a humble sanctuary to the gods of field and sky. The temple is not grand. Its walls are simple mud brick, its courtyard half shaded by a palm. But it holds a presence, a hush that even the birds respect. Here, in the inner chamber, a priest tends to the divine. His linen robe is freshly laundered. A shaved head glistens in the heat. He moves slowly, with grace. He approaches the shrine and opens its wooden doors. Inside, a small statue of a god, perhaps Horus, the falcon, or Min, the god of fertility, sits in painted dignity. It is no larger than a man's forearm, but it holds the world within it. The priest offers incense, waving a bundle of burning herbs over the figure. He pours cool milk into a basin. He lays a piece of bread beside a lotus flower. His words are quiet but firm. His prayers a song to maintain the balance of creation. Few villagers are present. A young woman kneels near the outer wall, eyes closed, lips moving silently. An old man touches the threshold, and bows his head. A child presses a tiny clay bead into a corner near the altar, a secret offering for protection. The temple is not merely a place of ritual. It is a pivot point between the visible and the invisible. The gods are not distant. They are part of every moment embodied in river and fire, in birth and food, in death and wind. Outside, the sunlight blazes. Inside, the shadows are cool and deep. A balance. A breath. Back in the village, in the deepest stillness of midday, stories begin to rise like mist from the earth. In one shaded courtyard, an elder begins a tale. Children gather around. Even a few teenagers sit near, pretending not to listen too closely. The elder leans on a carved stick and begins with the same words every story starts with. When the world was young, and so it flows. A tale of gods and monsters. Of a time when the sky and earth were one, and Ra was born from the lotus. Of Isis searching the Nile for Osiris, her tears forming the flood. Of a clever farmer who tricked a crocodile with a bundle of papyrus and saved his village from drought. The children listen wide-eyed. They know these stories already, but each telling is different, shaped by the mood of the day, the rhythm of the wind, and the memory of the teller. Not all stories are myths. Some are recent: a jackal seen too close to the cattle pen last night, or a dream someone had of their grandmother's voice warning them of bad luck. Every tale has meaning. Every whisper is a thread in the village's great tapestry of memory, and in between the stories there is silence, a sacred silence, the kind that allows the heart to breathe. Beyond the houses, in the green floodplains, the cattle sleep in clusters beneath shade trees. Egrets perch on their backs. Goats huddle together beside low stone walls. Even the insects hum more softly. The irrigation canals lie still, reflecting sky and reed. A few frogs leap lazily into the water. A turtle crawls from the mud to sun itself on a rock. A young boy stands at the edge of a field with his dog. He holds a stick but does not move. Together, they watch a pair of vultures circle high above, their wings motionless in the thermal air. The boy is too young to understand the symbols of vultures, but he senses their power. In Egypt, vultures are not harbingers of doom. They are mothers, symbols of protection, wings outstretched over the land. The boy breathes slowly, then turns and walks home. The field will wait. The sky will turn. Everything in its time. As the heat begins to soften, the afternoon draws near. But in this final moment of pure noon, the village exists in complete balance. Above, the blazing orb of Ra, ruler of the sky. Below, the black earth Kemet, rich with flood silt and ancient seeds. Between, the lives of people, simple and sacred, moving gently through the hours. There is no rush, no noise, no hunger for more, only presence, only belonging. The ancient Egyptians understood that Ma'at cosmic harmony was not only for kings and scribes. It was something lived, felt, shared. In the bread broken with neighbors. In the quiet song hummed beneath the sun. In the clean water poured over hands before a meal. In the pause before the next chore begins. The village does not know it is being remembered. Its people do not know that thousands of years from now, voices will speak of them again. But in this moment, they are whole, alive, grounded in the eternal rhythm. And as the first breeze of afternoon stirs the palm leaves again, the village exhales. The heartbeat quickens once more. The sun has begun its slow descent across the western sky. The shadows, once small and pressed beneath sandals and clay pots, now stretch again across the village streets. The air, though still warm, has softened. The burning stillness of midday has passed. A faint breeze returns, threading its way through the reeds, over the flat rooftops, into the open courtyards, and finally out toward the waiting fields. The village awakens again, not with noise or urgency, but with quiet determination. A pot is set aside, a mat is folded, a prayer is finished, and the people rise to tend the land. Along a narrow dirt path lined with stone and reed, villagers walk in single file. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, oxen led by rope, donkeys laden with baskets and water skins. The road winds gently from the edge of the village into the expansive green mosaic of the Nile Valley fields. Here, where the black silt meets the water's edge, the crops sway in the breeze like a living sea. Long rows of barley and emmer wheat stretch into the distance. Between them are smaller plots, onions and garlic, leeks and lentils, chickpeas and cucumbers. Herbs like fenugreek and dill grow in dense bunches, and date palms offer shade along the irrigation canals. The earth is soft beneath bare feet still damp in places from the morning's watering. Every step is part of a rhythm passed down through countless generations. Nothing is wasted. Every seed has its place. The villagers spread out among the fields, each person knowing exactly where to go, what to tend, what to touch. And the work begins again. There is a sacred cadence to the labor. A man bends to guide his ox through a freshly turned furrow, calling softly to the animal as the wooden plow carves a neat path through the dark earth. The ox responds not to fear, but to rhythm, to sound, to presence. A group of women harvest onions, their hands fast and sure, twisting the green stalks and lifting the bulbs free from the soil. They speak as they work, not loudly, but with ease. Some words are practical, some are teasing, others carry fragments of song. Their fingers are stained with the scent of the crop, and they wipe their forearms across sun-warmed brows. Children help gather bundles of cut barley, tying them with strips of palm frond. Their laughter rises now and again, but even it blends with the hum of work. The swish of stalks, the creak of leather sandals, the splash of water as a basket is dipped into a canal. Farther down the slope, a young boy stands at the water gate of an irrigation channel, adjusting the flow with a slab of wood and packed clay. His face is serious. He has been trusted with this small but vital task. The Nile's gift must be guided wisely. The irrigation system is the silent architecture of this agricultural world. The fields are fed by water diverted from the river through canals, dikes, and sluices, each shaped by hand, reinforced with mud and stone. These channels are cleared regularly, the banks reinforced, the flow adjusted seasonally and daily. Every drop is cherished. Every small spill is addressed. To work with the water is not simply a technical task, it is an act of ritual stewardship. Water is not owned. It is borrowed, blessed, used with care. In the heat of the afternoon, the villagers pause often to drink. Water is stored in porous clay jugs that sweat gently, cooling the contents. Each drink is taken in silence. Even the children do not waste it. One woman kneels beside a small shrine built near the largest canal. A tiny figure of Hapi, his body rounded, his hands cradling jars, sits in a niche of clay. She offers a handful of mint leaves and murmurs thanks. Here, in this land, Even toil is spiritual. As the hours pass, the labor continues steady, slow, but not joyless. This work is not isolation. It is connection. Across the fields, neighbors call to one another. A shared joke. A reminder to check a gate. A brief exchange about an animal seen in the reeds. The air carries their voices like music. It is a language of place and purpose. A group of young men pause beneath a tree for a moment's rest. They sit with knees pulled to chests, passing a clay vessel of water between them. One strums a few notes on a simple lyre. Another beats time on an overturned basket. The rhythm echoes softly through the leaves above. Further along, two women work side by side, talking quietly about a dream. One saw her mother in the dream, standing beside a flooded field, smiling. The other nods solemnly and says that such dreams mean blessing. The field is listening, and perhaps it is. The ancients believed that the land was alive, that the fields remembered, that the wind spoke, that the water heard. So each conversation here, each thought, is given in harmony with the living world. Among the laborers are the animals not mere tools, but companions. Oxen and donkeys pull carts and turn the soil. Goats graze along the field edges, watched carefully by children. A dog sleeps beneath a shaded date palm, its ears flicking at flies. Ducks paddle in a narrow canal. A heron wades nearby, elegant and still. Each creature plays a part. The Egyptians held deep respect for the animals in their world. Cats were guardians. Cattle were sacred. Even the lowly scarab beetle, seen crawling among the stalks, was a symbol of the sun's journey across the sky. A boy chases after a group of chickens that have wandered too far into the grain. He waves his arms, laughing. The chickens scatter. He runs back, triumphant, a feather caught in his hair. The land is shared. As the sun begins to lean westward, the villagers pause again. Beneath a stand of palms at the edge of the field, a meal is shared. This is not a feast, just a moment of nourishment. Bread wrapped in linen, salted fish, cucumbers cut with a flint knife, beer poured into cups carved from gourd shells, dates still warm from the sun, a few small white cheeses wrapped in leaves. There is no table, no ritual, only a circle of people, backs straight, hands steady. Food passed without need for words. A woman unwraps a small carved piece of ivory, a token from her mother, worn smooth from years of touch. She sets it beside her as she eats, a silent acknowledgement of presence and memory. After the meal, some lie back against the tree trunks. Others stretch their legs in the sun. A child naps in a shallow basket. A man carves notches into a stick, counting days until the next market. Time moves slowly here. The afternoon lingers. As the sun begins its final arc across the sky, long shadows stretch across the fields once more. The air grows cooler. The breeze returns. The work draws to a close. Baskets are filled with harvested crops, onions, leeks, barley, garlic stacked in bundles and tied with rope. Tools are gathered, counted, wiped clean. Water gates are closed gently, the channels left in good order. Oxen are led slowly home. Goats are herded back toward the village, their bleating echoing softly. But before leaving, many villagers pause for a moment. They look back at the field, at what has been done. A woman kneels and presses her palm to the soil, whispering a word of thanks. A boy drops a handful of grain for the birds. An old man, silent, places a single stalk of barley upright in the dirt, a personal tradition he's done for decades. And then, as if cued by an unseen signal, the people begin to walk back together, feet dusty, skin glowing, baskets heavy, hearts light. The sun now bathes the village in amber and rose. The western sky burns with color. The river turns to bronze. The villagers move slowly, savoring this hour. Children skip. Donkeys plod. A mother sings a soft song as she carries her baby. The fields fall behind them, but they are not forgotten. They are part of them now. And the village, already glowing in the distance, waits with open arms. Smoke begins to rise from hearths. Lamps are being lit. Evening is coming. But for now, they walk together in the golden silence of a day nearly spent. And the land listens. The sun now brushes the western horizon. Its golden disk lowers slowly, as if reluctant to leave. The sky above the desert glows with layers of fire and lavender, streaked with faint threads of rose. Shadows lengthen. The Nile, wide and slow, becomes a mirror of light reflecting the heavens in its gently rippling surface. The air has cooled, soft and fragrant, rich with the scents of earth, cooking fires, and crushed herbs. This is twilight, a sacred hour, the time between worlds. Neither day nor night, but both. In ancient Egypt, this moment was never taken for granted. The sun's descent was not a certainty. It marked the beginning of a nightly journey through the underworld, where Ra would battle chaos to be reborn at dawn. And so, as the light fades, the people pause. They reflect. They honor what has passed. The villagers are coming back. From the fields, from the wells, from the riverbanks. Feet dusty, baskets full. Their pace is slower now, unhurried, thoughtful. Work has been done. The land has been nourished. The day is nearly complete. Children run ahead, chasing shadows and tossing pebbles. They laugh and sing snatches of half-remembered songs, their voices echoing softly off mud-brick walls. Parents walk behind them, shoulders tired, but spirits light. Goats and donkeys follow the same familiar paths. They, too, know the way home. Along the alleys and courtyards, lamps are being lit, small ceramic bowls filled with oil, with twisted linen wicks. Their flickering light glows like stars in the deepening dusk. Doorways glow. Shadows flicker. The village breathes in, together. Evening has arrived. Inside the homes, the evening meal begins to take shape. At the hearth, low fires are stoked with dried palm leaves and fuel. Clay ovens glow with orange heat. A scent of roasted onions, lentils, and spiced legumes drifts through the air. A pot of porridge, made from emmer wheat, simmers gently, thickened with goat's milk and sweetened with dates. In one home, a father slices salted fish with a sharpened flint blade. In another, a mother grinds fresh herbs in a stone bowl, coriander, mint, a hint of dill. A young girl fans the fire, while her brother carries water from the jug. This is not merely sustenance. It is the closing ritual of the day. The household gathers, forming a circle around the food, seated on woven mats. Hands are washed. Heads are bowed not in grand gesture, but in quiet gratitude. Bread is passed, torn gently. No one eats before the elders. No one speaks with a full mouth. Small blessings are whispered before the first bite. Thank you, Hapi, for the river's gift. Thank you, Hathor, for the sweetness of fruit. Thank you, ancestors, for watching over this home. The meal is quiet, punctuated by laughter now and then, stories from the field, a child's mischief, a grandmother's remark about the flavor of the lentils, the kind of sharing that roots a family deeper into the earth. After the meal, the hearth is cooled, and the last embers are covered. The people step into the courtyards once more, drawn by the cooling air and the fading colors of the sky. A few families gather together. Neighbors sit side by side beneath hanging lanterns. Some bring instruments, a small lute, a flute carved from reed, a simple hand drum. Music begins softly, like breath turned to sound. A woman sings an old melody, her voice low and rhythmic. It tells the tale of a lover waiting by the riverbank, of stars falling into the Nile, of a heart longing for reunion. The song is older than memory. Its shape has changed with time, but its soul remains. Children lie on their backs and count the first stars. Cats curl beside baskets. A boy naps with his head in his sister's lap, lulled by the music and the warm scent of the night. There is no need for grand entertainment. The evening itself is a performance. The river whispers, the wind stirs the reeds. The moon begins to rise, silvering the rooftops and reflecting softly off ceramic jars. And above it all, the stars come out bright and numerous. The same stars that guided sailors, that told the time of planting and harvest, that mirrored the Nile's flow in the heavens. The people look up, and they feel small, yes, but also held. Inside the homes, the altars are lit again. Small niches carved into walls, simple shelves of wood or clay. Upon them sit figures of the gods Isis with her wings outstretched, Bes with his fierce grin, Tauret, protector of mothers, Anubis with his jackal head watching over the spirit world. A fresh offering is placed, a sip of beer, a piece of bread, a flower plucked from the courtyard. Hands are pressed together, heads are bowed. In one household, a mother places an amulet beneath her baby's mat, a carved ivory figure of Tauret. She touches her child's brow and whispers a protection spell, passed down through generations. In another, an elder recites part of the hymn to the Nile. Hail to thee, O Nile, who comes forth from the earth, who gives life to Egypt and nourishes all. The words are not chanted with formality, but like a remembered song, a hum in the throat, a rhythm in the breath. They are part of the fabric of life. As the stars thicken in the sky, some families sit outside, gazing upward. Others retire indoors, drawing linen curtains across the doorways. A few light incense near the entrance, myrrh, frankincense, blue lotus, and let it drift into the night, rising to meet the spirits. There is no fear of the dark, but there is reverence. The night is a place of dreams, of ancestors, of sacred journeys. And so, protection is invited. Light is welcomed. Balance is kept. Later in the night, the Nile becomes silent and vast. By now, most of the village sleeps. But a few still linger at the riverbank, fishermen checking nets, an old man watching the stars, a girl whispering to the water. The moon floats high above, mirrored perfectly in the current. The reeds sway, their long stalks casting gentle ripples. Frogs croak softly. A crocodile slips silently through the shadows, unnoticed, unbothered. This is the river's true hour, when all else is still. To the ancients, the Nile was more than water. It was a living god, flowing with memory and breath. Its night form was mysterious, sacred, veiled, a path for souls. A mirror of the Milky Way, the girl dips her hand in and feels the coolness. She hums an offering, a dream, a hope. Somewhere upstream, The splash of a hippo echoes faintly, and then silence again. The river listens and keeps flowing. In the homes of the village, sleep has come. Families lie together beneath woven blankets. The air is still. The fire has died to embers. A cat curls at a child's feet. A hand rests on a sibling's shoulder. The room breathes with sleep. But the spirit world is awake. Dreams swirl like wind in the palms, some vivid, some soft. The people dream of fields, of gods, of ancestors, of loved ones returned, of birds and stars and water. They believe that in sleep, the soul can travel to the land of the gods or to visit a loved one across the river. Some dreams bring messages. Others bring comfort. All are part of life. The goddess Nut stretches her body across the sky, swallowing the sun so it may travel through the underworld. Her star-covered form glows with ancient power, and Ra, in his golden boat, sails beneath the earth, preparing to be born again. The people sleep, the fields rest, the river flows, the stars shimmer, and the balance of the world is, for one more night, preserved. Night now holds the village completely. The moon hangs high above the Nile, wrapped in a soft veil of stars. Its silver light drapes over the rooftops, pools in the courtyards, and ripples across the quiet water. The heat of the day is gone, replaced by a delicate coolness that brushes the skin like silk. The village is still, not in absence, but in presence, in reverent, resting stillness. Even the river seems slower now, its current like a deep, steady breath. In this silence, a listener can hear the eternal rhythm beneath the surface of all things. The breath of 1,000 years, the heartbeat of a land blessed by the gods, the dreams of people long gone who still speak in the wind, in the reeds, in the stars. Let your own breath slow now. Let your spirit settle. You are safe here, in the sleep of the Nile. Within the homes, families are asleep. Some lie on thick mats indoors, beneath reed canopies. Others sleep on the rooftops, cooled by the night air, wrapped in linen blankets. All are held by silence. The fire pits are cold now. The embers no longer glow. Lamps are darkened. The air smells of earth, stone, and ash. In the deepest hours, even the animals rest, goats curled in their pens, donkeys still, cats silent. A mother stirs slightly in her sleep, adjusting the baby beside her. The child breathes softly, lips parted, one hand curled against a reed doll. A father dreams of barley fields swaying under golden light. A girl turns over on her mat, murmuring a song she learned from her grandmother. These are not merely private dreams. They are threads in the great tapestry of the Nile. Each breath, each vision, each flicker of spirit weaves the soul of the land. Even in sleep, the village lives. Above, the night sky is alive. The stars of Sopdet, the goddess star we now call Sirius, shimmer in the east. She is the herald of the flood, the promise of renewal. Her light has traveled across eternity to meet the eyes of a child asleep on a mud-brick rooftop. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of silver. To the people of ancient Egypt, it was the celestial form of the Nile, the heavenly river that mirrored the one below. It flowed not with water, but with the essence of gods, ancestors, and the souls of the blessed dead. Nut, the sky goddess, arches across the world. Her body is the cosmos. Her belly glows with stars. Her limbs cradle the horizon. Each night, she swallows the sun at dusk, carrying it through the darkness in her belly, and births it again at dawn. And so, above the sleeping village, the divine drama continues. Ra, in his bark of fire, travels the Duat the underworld. He passes through gates guarded by serpents. He faces Apophis, the serpent of chaos, who tries to halt the sun's rebirth. But he is not alone. He is protected by deities, by spells, by balance. And as the villagers sleep, they lend their dreaming hearts to the journey. Because even in unconsciousness, they are part of the eternal order Mayat, the principle that keeps the world in balance. The stars do not simply shine. They watch, they record, they remember. In this quiet hour, the barrier between worlds thins. The ancestors walk gently among the living, not in fright, but in love. Their presence is not dramatic, not ghostly. They are memories given warmth, stories given shape, feelings made visible in the shimmer of starlight and the coolness of air. In one home, a girl dreams of her grandmother's voice telling her the story of how the ibis once stole a moonbeam and turned it into a quill. The girl smiles in her sleep, her fingers twitching as though weaving the story into her own memory. In another courtyard, a cat lifts its head suddenly, ears alert. It looks toward the darkness beyond the wall, then settles again. Perhaps it sensed a spirit passing, or simply the wind. In Egypt, such things were not divided. All life, animal, human, divine, was part of the same breath. And so, in the deep of night, the air is full not of silence, but of presence. The ancestors are near. The gods are near. The whole world is folded gently into itself. And everything waits. On the edge of the village, the small temple to the god Min sits bathed in moonlight. Its doorway is closed, its shrine silent. But from within, a faint golden light flickers. One priest, too old for sleep, tends the eternal lamp. He adds a bit of oil, straightens the wick, sits cross-legged on the smooth stone floor, and stares into the flame. He speaks no words. He speaks no words. His role now is not to act, but to witness. The flame is the breath of Ra. It must not go out. It has burned since the last festival, and it will burn until the next. To extinguish, it would be to disturb the rhythm. So the priest waits and watches and listens. Outside, a jackal moves silently past the temple wall. The priest does not rise. He nods once. Anubis walks beside all of us, he thinks. Even in sleep, even in death, even in peace. The Nile flows on. Its waters dark now, yet never empty. It carries silt, secrets, prayers. It reflects the stars. It touches the feet of reeds. It kisses the banks. Fish move silently beneath the surface. A crocodile slips under a stand of papyrus. Water birds rest, necks folded, eyes closed. The current hums a music that only the land can hear. To the ancient Egyptians, the Nile was more than a river. It was a heartbeat, a god, a parent, a teacher. And at night, it becomes a lullaby, gentle, patient, eternal. Listen now, the water against stone, the breeze through papyrus, the soft cry of a night hereon, the breath of the village. It sings not only to the people, but to the world itself. Rest, it says, the day is done. You have worked. You have loved. You have honored the earth. Now sleep. And tomorrow we begin again. As the hours pass, the east begins to soften. Still black, but changing. A single star fades. The sky deepens to a rich blue. The land holds its breath. Soon the lotus will open again. Soon Ra will return. Soon the fire will be lit, the bread baked, the oxen led to field, the children awakened, the prayers whispered. But for now, just now, the world is perfectly still. And in this stillness is something sacred, a glimpse of eternity, a moment outside of time, a heartbeat that began long before memory and will continue long after. The village does not know that you are watching. The people do not know that they are remembered. But in this moment, they live again in your breath, in your quiet, in your imagination. They are not gone. They are sleeping, waiting, endlessly becoming. And as the final stars vanish above the river, you know, the day will begin again, and the Nile will flow, and the rhythm eternal, gentle, sacred will continue, always. The stars still shine overhead, quiet and watchful. The village sleeps. The fields lie still. The lamps are cold. The Nile flows on. But the day remains softly echoing through the earth, the sky, and the hush between dreams. Though the sun has set and the voices have quieted, nothing is lost. Because here, in the land of the Nile, memory is not kept in books or monuments alone. It is carried in wind, in water, in footsteps pressed into dust. The ancestors say, what is remembered lives. And so this day lives. You have walked its hours. You have woken with its people, felt the grain beneath your fingers, heard the laughter in the market shade, tasted the salt of bread baked in clay, rested in the hush of fields beneath the sun. You have watched children sleep beneath the stars. You have heard the old gods move quietly through the night. And now you, too, have become part of this rhythm. You have stepped into a circle. You have flowed like the river, and like the river, you remember. The Egyptians knew that time was not a line, but a tide, that every dawn was a rebirth, that every night was a return, that every life, no matter how small, how quiet, how ordinary, was part of the eternal pattern. So even when the homes of this village have turned to sand, even when the last fig tree has withered, even when no voice remains to speak their names aloud still, the river remembers them. It remembers the mother who sang as she ground grain, the boy who chased frogs with a reed stick, the man who laughed as he carved his wife's name into wood, the elder who whispered blessings into the fire each night, not because they were great, but because they were here, because they lived with care and rhythm and love. And that is enough. That is always enough. Now your own breath slows. Your mind drifts like a boat on calm water. The sounds of the day are far behind. The edge of sleep approaches. The circle draws to a close. But even as you rest, know this. The sun will rise again. The fields will stir. The village will wake. And the story will begin once more. Because in the world of ancient Egypt, nothing truly ends. There is only return. So sleep, traveler. Sleep gently. Let the Nile carry you. Let the stars keep watch. And know that somewhere, beyond time, a river flows. And it remembers you too.